I do too. If I were you, I know you scared. I do too. If I were you, you better bring your A game. Bring your A game. You better bring your A game. Bring your A game. You better bring your A game. Bring your A game. You better bring your A game. 'Cause I'm a monster. You better bring your A game. Bring your A game. You better bring your A game.
Hello, everyone. JJ Vikings here with the voice of the Vikings, Paul Allen. Welcome to the show, PA. I'm so excited to have you on. This is a dream come true.
Well, you might want to set your dreams a little higher, with all due respect, but that's very kind of you. And with McCarthy now set for rookie camp coming up this weekend, JJ, I mean, we got JJ to JJ, and I'm talking to JJ. So this is a wonderful J day.
Yeah, it is a wonderful day for that. Thanks again for coming on, and I also wanted to thank you for some months earlier for having me on K-Fan on that show, that little the voice thing. You know, we didn't see each other face to face, so now that we are, I'm glad that we can finally see face to face.
Well, that's awesome, man, and I loved having you on the radio show, and it got a lot of positive feedback. Hopefully, you got a lot of positive feedback via your Twitter feed. But it's was just basically a thank you for your passion from afar for the football team during a 7-win season that was trying with the 4 quarterbacks and, the defense getting off to a slow start. And then all of a sudden for a month and a half, 2 months, it was really, really good. And then it was clear, that some players have played a lot. And then it just kind of all fell apart a little bit with that Green Bay game at the end. But through it, there you were, my man. With positive comments, realistic comments, not over the top, dunk on people type comments. And I really appreciate and respect that. So honestly, it was the least we could do 9 to noon at KFAM.
Yeah. It was absolutely amazing, and absolutely love talking with you. Like I tell everyone, whenever I talk with you, it makes me want to take out like 10% of the professionalism and fill it in with fun because of how fun of a person you are.
Well, I mean, you can have fun and be professional. I mean, what year were you born?
2010.
All right. So, the NFC Championship game after that 2009 season, January of 2010. So it's the year of our Lord 2010, the year you were born. And, like when it comes to, professionalism, is it professional or unprofessional? Like at the end of that game against the Saints, man, the most memorable professional experience of my life of any job. and that would include the Minneapolis Miracle. When I'm like, this is not Detroit, man, this is the Super Bowl. You could have kicked a whatever yard field goal, take a knee or whatever. I mean, I got really, really animated, and some would say unprofessional. But when you look back at it, it was born of the heart. So thus, some people had fun with it. Some people thought it was professional, and those are scenarios that you have in front of you with this very bright career you have.
Wow, thank you so much for that. And I want to get into the questions now. My first question for you is, what got you into sports, like sports journalism?
Great question. I grew up in Washington, D.C., and due to circumstance, I had lived all over the world. Lived in Hawaii for 6 months, then the Philippines for a year and a half. Then when I was 12 or 13, I finally got back to Washington, D.C. And, it was then the Washington Redskins, the Washington Bullets, the Capitals, and the Baltimore Orioles. And I was just really into watching them on TV and, most importantly, listening to them on the radio. And I would have baseball cards and I would play, games, making up, names or using names in make-believe games for those teams. And back around 78, 79, 80, that really was, we didn't have as many options as we have now. So you had to take what you had and kind of facilitate it in the overarching aspect of your life. And that's why it was so big to me growing up there.
Wow. So you weren't born in Minnesota?
No, No, I'm from Washington, D.C., then ended up via circumstance moving to Los Angeles as a freshman in high school, right outside of Los Angeles. Then from there, I went to Pasadena City College. That's where, again, I talk like this because I know how old you are. I know how bright your future is. And I know, what's eventually going to come your way. So, for me at Pasadena City College, I was there 5 years and, but I became editor in chief of the school newspaper and I was with the drama team and I had my own radio show on the campus radio station. And then I was sports information director for football and basketball, because I played high school basketball, but I stopped it in junior college. Now from there, I got an internship and then a job at the Pasadena Star News and working on what's known as the copy desk. Editing and reading all of the stories that were coming in really helped me with my vocabulary. And it really helped me look at longer sentences and if needed, make them shorter. So, that's pretty much what the road was like until I got to Minnesota in 98.
That's an amazing story. Wow. Really interesting. Really interesting. And I never would have guessed, that you moved around so much and that my whole life until now I thought you were born in Minnesota. I thought you were a pure Minnesota guy. But wow, it's interesting to learn about, this side of you more. And with my follow-up question is, what made you a huge Minnesota supporter?
Well, I got to Minnesota full time in 1998. I'm a racetrack announcer by trade. So like where you are, it used to be Suffolk Downs, or like they ran the Kentucky Derby recently at Churchill Downs. That kind of and they're racing in the JJ Viking Stakes. Here comes JJ surging on the outside at the top of the stretch. So I've probably called 30 some odd thousand horse races over the course of about 31 or 32 years. So that's how I started. There was a racetrack called Canterbury Park that opened in 95. So then I was going Minnesota, Grand Island, Nebraska to fill in for a guy for a month and a half, then back to Northern California, now the Bay Area. And I did that for 5 years. Then I settled in 98 in Minnesota, KFan, and KFan, the station that carries the Vikings, and where I had my 9 to noon show. They got together with Canterbury, and then I came back here, and I've been here since 98. And I started calling Vikings games in 2002. I auditioned for that basically, and with no college experience, and these 3 God-given careers. I mean, I'm just so blessed that God chose I get to do what I get to do. Because at the end of the equation, I serve you. And I serve those who take time to push a button, turn a dial, get onto a phone, and listen to KFan, and I happen to be on it. So you're one of those. And, thank you.
Oh, of course. And thank you, too. And one of the reasons I say thank you is because of how much you've inspired me. So my admiration for you goes all the way back to when I was 7 years old, and I first heard you on the Minneapolis Miracle.
Wow.
I believe it was you and Pete Bursich, right?
Yeah.
And you guys were like so excited, so riled up after the Stephon Diggs touchdown. Back then, I was still living in Minnesota, and it was an absolutely amazing experience listening to you. And then in 2021, when the Vikings had a sky-high number of sacks, even though they didn't make the playoffs, very promising team though. But with the huge number of sacks they had, I'd actually turn on my TV and listen to you do commentary on those sacks.
That's cool.
And absolutely amazing. And all I hear, I hear like bam, down he goes, and like lots of exciting ways of speech that you have, and that also got me really inspired by you as well.
Well, I can't tell you how much. This is kind of a mutual admiration society right now, because honestly, it's super kind what you said. Thank you. But I just can't, possibly express when it comes from those in the younger generation. And, because of TikTok and a lot of forms of social media, I'm certainly not being arrogant here. I'm just being observant. Really over the last year and a half or so, or since something blew up after a Buffalo game in 2022, just the younger generation has really, really been super kind to me in much larger numbers than I had seen in the previous X amount of years. So, I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on Instagram or Facebook. My only avenue is Twitter. But I do recognize how the younger generation operates. So when I hear somebody of the younger generation like you say what you said, it moves me exponentially when I come at it as a serve first play-by-play guy, where I prepare, I call, I bond with Lieber and Bursic, and always, the prayer into the game is that I'm serving you. So if it's in God's will, put me on the best call that I've ever had in my life, so JJ and whomever else chooses to listen can have lasting memories, clearly like you've had.
Yeah, and these are the kinds of memories that'll never, ever, ever go away. Never.
Amen.
And I wanted to ask you as well, how do you prepare before doing your commentary, your analysis? Is there any kind of unique way that you prepare for that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's I don't have one by me right now. If I did, I'd show you. In fact, I'm sure we'll do some of these during the course of the season if you want to. But I have what's known as a game calling depth chart, and I start preparing it on Monday. So if you just think of a bigger piece of paper like this, and then here you would have, say, Green Bay's defense, Minnesota's offense. Flip it, okay, flip card, Vikings defense, Packers offense. Then you have like Jordan Love, and then Josh Jacobs, and then Dontavian Wicks, and then Luke Musgrave and Tyler Kraft, and all the way over to whomever, Christian Watson or whomever. So you put the names and the numbers down, and then you get the weekly releases from the teams, and you read it, highlight it for what I think would be good for the game call. And then you put it on the game calling depth chart. Then I highlight what I really like. The blue pen that I use is current stuff. The green is kind of evergreen, can drop in anytime. And the red is immortality like stuff, like somebody's long catch, long run, how many touchdowns in a career. So, I can snap it with inside the 5 touchdown, JJ Vikes. That's his 13th touchdown this season, 18th receiving touchdown of his career, and the Vikings have taken a 13-0 lead, something like that. So it's probably, if we're playing an AFC team with whom I'm not super familiar, then it's probably 6 to 8 hours during the course of the week. But the beauty of it is that I don't do it on a PowerPoint or anything. So I'm typing in the name and the number, and then I'm seeing it again and writing about it. And then I'm highlighting and seeing it again. And then I'm looking at it to make sure it's good before the game. So I see it 4 times, and it helps me commit it to memory.
That's amazing. That's some pretty good preparation. Awesome preparation.
Well, and another facet that I can't leave out is Kevin O'Connell. I just adore him, man. I just know he's a high-level winning head coach, and I truly believe the Minnesota Vikings will win a Super Bowl with Kevin O'Connell. So that's what I think of a head coach. And, I'm fortunate enough Friday after practice, or maybe Saturday in his hotel room on a road trip, to sit down and record a pregame interview with him that airs right before the boom. Minnesota Vikings football with JJ Vikes is in the air right before that, like 3 to 5 minutes. So, to get the opportunity to chill with the head coach, for a 3 to 5 minute interview, but, I get about 10 minutes with him. So I get to ask him some questions about the game to get ready for the game. Well, that's invaluable. He knows where all the bones are buried. And, I would never be disrespectful and come out and ask what a game, specific pointed questions. But Kevin's just really good at pointing me in the right direction. Really, all of them have. Zimmer, Leslie, Childress, Mike Tice. Just been very fortunate to work with head coaches who have trusted me.
Yeah, and Kevin O'Connell, I seriously admire the guy too. He's actually one of the guys that I really want to interview, hopefully sometime in the near future. And I also wanted to bring up the draft. The draft is a very important thing for the Vikings, and even though the draft just passed, I wanted to kind of touch base with you about what you feel about it.
Well, I mean, that's such a big question, JJ, because there are just so many ways to go with it. And in a draft where they clearly eyeballed quarterbacks and, hosting a radio show at the draft party with, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 7,000 there, how many ever, the feeling in the building that night, US Bank Stadium, was it most people were not like, who, it has to be Jaden Daniels, has to be Drake May, has to be McCarthy, has to be Penix. It wasn't like that. It was just, it has to be. You have to draft a quarterback with all of us here, off everything from JJ Vikes to 9 to noon, to everybody we've heard, seen, or read up to the draft. You just have to. Well, then they did. So that was really joyous. But the A topic, in my opinion, as of right now, until we start playing games and seeing people over 20, 30 games, is getting Alabama edge Dallas Turner at 17. Now, we're farther removed from the draft, so I've had a chance to chat with some coaches about him, had a chance to learn a lot about him via things that I otherwise had not seen. Oh, wow. I mean, he's unbelievable. He's so dynamic, and he's really going to bolster the pass rush on the defense after Danielle Hunter left. Plus, you got Grenard, and he's super athletic and fast, and I can't wait to watch him. Blake Cashman is really sculpted, and I know he's a version of Eric Kendricks, and that's a compliment. I just can't figure out what version it is. Run stopping, I think that'll be his deal, but he can cover pass too. And then you get the Oregon corner with the long arms. I'm not going to say, he's as good or, in the neighborhood with Tariq Woolen for Seattle. I think he was a 5th round pick from Texas San Antonio. But first time I saw Jackson on some YouTube highlights, I'm like, well, that looks like Tariq Woolen. He's not as thick, but he reminds me of him. So maybe that could be good. And then I learned a little more last week about the Oklahoma offensive lineman, Walter Rouse, and how many games he started and what he did at Stanford and what he did at OU. And, then you get to what everybody's A topic is. It would be McCarthy. And, I just can't wait, A, to watch him in rookie camp this weekend, and B, to watch him in mini camp when he goes against the veterans, but really see these preseason games, man, and just how much they're going to play him. So, I mean, this is JJ McCarthy sweet. I know there's some work that needs to be done with the 21-year-old, but he's sweet, man. He's a hockey guy at heart, which means he's tough as nails. He's super smart, and he does one thing that Kevin O'Connell really requires in quarterbacks, and he's good at it. The hash marks in the NFL are like this, JJ, but in college football, they're like this. So when you can go this hash over here, hash marks, all the way over to the other sideline, hash mark to boundary or hash mark to boundary with a dime and throw guys open, he does that all the time. His talent is immense, and I can't wait to watch it develop.
And I can't wait to watch him throw to the best wide receiver in the NFL, and a rising wide receiver too in Jordan Addison, who has proved that he can step up in big situations. And we know TJ Hawkinson's going to be out for a little while, but, I don't think that'll be much of a problem now that I see that we drafted JJ McCarthy. But my thoughts on the draft are JJ McCarthy, absolutely wonderful move. Not only is he an accurate and wonderful passer, but he can move. He can run. He's got scrambling abilities, which, I think Kevin O'Connell kind of likes that too. And a quarterback that's able to improvise and explode in that way too, that is going to be something that the Vikings really are going to view as an asset for the team. And I think that's going to be amazing for McCarthy. And for Dallas Turner, wow, what a shocking pick. I mean,
unbelievable.
The way we got him too, which is absolutely amazing. Like you said, so dynamic. And he's got Jonathan Grenard to learn from. Like, I don't see any way this team can't succeed because of the intangibles that we have. And I really admire what this front office is doing. And then Kyrie Jackson, what a story, employee of the year at a little deli that he worked at. He couldn't really get into football until later. So he got into football, left football to work at this little deli cutting ham. And then he came back and then, was a star. And he's 194, he's 6'3", 194 pounds, but even though he's a bit smaller, he's got the height for days, and he's got the coverage skills, the speed. He can catch up to receivers pretty well, can make good plays on the ball. His physicality is all there. I think he's an improvement of a Caleb Evans, for example. And I just love this draft class. Absolutely love this draft class, especially after we saw what Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah did in 2020. Oh, no, not that. 2022. And we were kind of like shaking our heads about it a little bit. And then 2023 got a bit better. He definitely hit the jackpot with Jordan Addison. And then like that draft class was okay. This draft class, I think Kwesi deserves an A-, a B+, or maybe even an A+. I mean, absolutely phenomenal.
Well, the thing that impresses me a lot about the general manager, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, and, I don't properly know how to explain it because I just don't know enough about what he does the way he does it. But when you hire Kwesi as general manager, you're really going outside of the box, okay? It's one of the most different and enterprising general manager hires in the history of the NFL. You mentioned the 2022 draft, all right? But then gradual improvement is required at the highest level of what anybody does. Really, it's required of everybody, but the ones that pay more money or have more responsibility or more, glitz and or just a general manager job's the bomb. But if you're not improving, then you probably are going to lose your job. And just to add something to that about, what I've noticed from afar about the maturation of the general manager, JJ, is it's clear that getting the roster younger and finding money under the salary cap for free agency, that's a big part of what Kwesi had to do too. And he's gotten the roster younger, and we also had enough money to get all those cool free agents, including Aaron Jones. And with the assumption the other JJ, as in Justin Jefferson, will be signed before the season, or certainly he will be signed, they're still going to have, I don't know, what, 75, 80, $90 million under the cap next year. I mean, that's phenomenal. I can't remember the last time that was the situation with the Minnesota Vikings. Hey, you said something earlier that I don't want to forget about McCarthy moving. And that's an elite football mind take right there. And here's why. Because, I love Kirk Cousins, all right? And Kirk, with his accuracy and cold-blooded nature, I mean, Kirk has cold-blooded to him if you protect him. Just think of that Buffalo game and those throws he made to Justin Jefferson, so on and so on and so on. So I'm not putting J.J. McCarthy even close to Kirk Cousins' NFL class, through the 12 or whatever Kirk's played. However, I don't think it can be disputed that running and scrambling and taking off comes naturally to J.J. McCarthy, where it never really came naturally to Kirk. So, now that you have time to raise that with J.J. with that nice arm and that youthful exuberance, born leader too, you can just tell it when he gets in that huddle, you're going to know who's in charge. That move part that you mentioned really intrigues me with J.J. McCarthy.
I agree. And one thing I forgot to mention is if he ever has an off game, which I don't think he will, he's got a run game and Aaron Jones to take some of the pressure off of him too. And that's what I love because Aaron Jones still plays at a pretty high level. Yeah. And I also wanted to mention Kirk Cousins did come up cold-blooded in Week 10 against the Bills. But one thing I don't really like that much about the NFL is you can't really decide your game of the year in the middle of the season because there can always be a game after that could take that place. Yeah. My example and my proof is Week 10 against the Buffalo Bills, right? They were calling that the game of the year. Then you had Week 16, the greatest comeback in NFL history against the Colts, right? And that's when Kirk and the receivers and the guys really came up cold-blooded, right? But my point is you have to wait until after the season to decide your game of the year because there can definitely be other games after the game that you consider a game of the year that can take that place.
You mentioned Aaron Jones, and at that draft party, night of the draft, that Bursich and Ben Lieber, Paul Charchian, and myself did, Gabe Henderson too, who I know has been on with you before. Aaron Jones was one of the guests. And when we got done chatting with Aaron, we go to break and the picks are falling down and everything. And I'm just chatting with him a little bit. Second time I've met him now. And I asked him about Sam Darnold. And then he just kind of like whipped his head around, his eyes open like this, like, whoa, I had no idea he could spin it the way he does, which is Aaron basically saying he's never watched Sam Darnold closely in his life. And why should he? He plays offense for Carolina and the Jets and the Niners, but he never played. And I've heard that before, that Darnold throws a really, really good football. He also moves. He also is capable of beating you with his feet. And there are a lot of reasons he went third overall when he did. And he didn't have Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson eventually, play action off Aaron Jones. So, I'm not ruling out J.J. McCarthy playing earlier than people think, because I just really, really have a high level of belief in him. But I'm absolutely not ruling out I would predict Sam Darnold would be the starting quarterback week 1 as of now. And B, with this coaching staff, this high-end coaching staff, offensively too, led by O'Connell, that Darnold does not open eyes with people saying, wow, look at Sam Darnold when he gets a good situation. So we'll see.
Sam Darnold, I think he's in a better situation now. And I'm going to make a point saying that Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy is similar to Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix, but the difference is the Vikings, in my opinion, have the better situation and the better, in terms of quarterbacks. And I made a bold prediction in one of my videos earlier saying that J.J. McCarthy will get the start in week 1. That's what I think, because Sam Darnold can't be too hard to beat out, right? Sam Darnold, Nick Mullins, any of those quarterbacks.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't mean to cut you off, kiddo, but it's, it's impossible to take that Carolina Panthers situation with tight end Ian Thomas and wide receiver Robbie Anderson and whomever else was there. I guess maybe DJ Moore too, but also take that Jet situation with Chris Herndon and whomever else he had there and compare it to A, O'Connell, and then B, O'Connell with Jones, Jefferson, Addison, Darisaw, O'Neal, Hawkinson. And it's just, it's on Sam. That's the only way to put it. It's right in front of you. You're going to get first crack. You are gifted. This coach loves to throw. This coach is really, really crafty and clever at designing throws. There it is, man. It's right in front of you, Sam. So I guess we'll find out.
I'm going to love this competition. I'm going to be really intrigued to see how entertaining this competition is going to be in training camp. It's going to be awesome. And I wanted to lead you. I wanted to ask you, what do you think of J.J. McCarthy? But I'm pretty sure that question was already answered now.
Yeah.
But what you didn't answer yet is, which free agency move do you want the Vikings to make the most?
Say it again. Which one do I want them to make next year, or what?
Free agency is still a little open. Like, you have Xavier Howard out there.
Yeah, no, I'm good right now. I mean, this is like with Xavier Howard. Okay, obviously Flores. Well, not obviously, but Brian Flores, defensive coordinator, coached him in Miami. You know that, but everybody might not know that. It's apparent to me that there probably is some type of money situation separating teams with Howard, simply because he's still there. But the hay's in the barn, man, and now you tinker. And they have money with which to tinker because of the way Kwesi has crafted this thing. That plays into the absolute improvement, in whatever way, by the general manager and his staff. So I'm so excited about this year. It's the players they brought in. Shaq Griffin, he's at a stage of his career where the Vikings needed another veteran corner with Byron Murphy, and they got it. Now, Mekhi Blackman in his second year, Mekhi had some good moments and Mekhi had some rough moments, but that happens to rookies,
Yeah, he'll learn. He'll definitely learn. I think he'll get a lot better.
But he's in a big spot, man. I mean, Caleb Evans is in a big spot, but he's now in his third year, so now likewise for Andrew Booth Jr. So, Mekhi and Kyrie Jackson, there's gold in them Lar Hills, man. You just go out there and take it, and you can last with this team and in the NFL for a long time.
Yeah, Mekhi Blackman and Kyrie Jackson. So Kai and Kai, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty cool too. All these NFL players nowadays have all these nicknames. Pretty cool. Also, question: What do you think of Andrew Booth Jr.? Do you think that Andrew Booth has like one more year to step it up, or do you think that he'll have more
Well,
chances after this year?
I mean, I got to know him a little bit last year for the first time. Nobody really got to know him his rookie year because he was just hurt so much. What a wonderful, wonderful guy. Him and Cam Bynum are like this. I mean, they're with each other all the time, and they're both awesome human beings. So I know Andrew Booth Jr. is gifted, or he wouldn't be here. So I wish him nothing but success, and hopefully he jumps up this year, gets more playing time.
Yeah, I really hope so too. And what you're saying about Cam Bynum, I love him so much
The
on the
best.
field and even more off the field. Does so much for his community in the Philippines and plays like a true hero on the field, like we saw against the 49ers. Forced a fumble and got 2 interceptions, 9 tackles. Guy was all over the place. Led the Vikings team in tackles last year, just all over. And some people could argue that he was like the second Mr. Everything after Josh Metellus,
Yeah.
Uh, so our 2 safeties I see them getting better and better and better, and that includes Cam Bynum all day.
Yeah, and it also includes the leader and the elder statesman in Harrison Smith. With
Absolutely.
Harrison, any year can be the last. So it's what a wonderful now that you rattle off all those names, JJ. I mean, what a wonderful group of people. And Garrett Bradbury's awesome, and Harrison Phillips is awesome, and they have a wonderful. They've just put together a wonderful group of hard trying individuals with Brian Flores as the defensive coordinator and O'Connell and his staff doing the offense. It's once they're able to fit a few more things together, who knows? We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. I can't wait. I can't wait. And Harrison Smith, I see him as a true leader. He took less money to stay with Minnesota, and he seems like that guy who will put winning with Minnesota over money. Like he won't go to another team.
Yeah.
He won't like go to another team and take more money. I think he's really committed to Minnesota, and that's why he has my respect. Like and other reasons too.
Yeah.
But that's one of the reasons why he has my respect forever.
Yeah, and with Harrison, it's one thing that I greatly respect about him is I've had to watch him change his game multiple times in his decade plus in the NFL because of the rules changing. And, he went from Harry the Hitman to Harry the Pickman when he had like 5 or 6 interceptions. He can sack the quarterback. But, you can just tell it's important to Harrison Smith, like it was Chad Greenway, to play every year of their career with the same team. Because that's so few and far between these days, JJ, that he wants to be one of those guys, and he will.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to see him play one more season. And I have the fullest amount of trust that Josh Metellus and Cameron Bynum will be more than ready by the time Harrison Smith retires.
Yes, sir. They're ready now. And Jay Ward, too. We'll see what he can do.
Yeah, Jay Ward. Oh, that forced fumble he had against the Cardinals in last year's preseason game, that really got me hyped, Obviously, we should have won that game, but, Greg Joseph missed the field goal against the Cardinals again, unfortunately. The last time he missed one before that was in 2021 in week 2, which made the Vikings go 0-2 ultimately. But I do really like this team. I love this draft class, and I can't wait to see this team succeed. And it was absolutely amazing having you on, too, so it was absolutely wonderful.
I love you, buddy. And it's always a pleasure following you on social media and interacting with you and having you on my radio show 9 to noon or, doing this with you. I'm here for you whenever you need it, man. So just go ahead and hit me up. All right.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for watching. This is Paul Allen. You can find him on KFAN, the radio show, or on the Vikings channel. He does it all. And he's a huge inspiration and an absolutely great analyst or commentator and can inspire a lot of people. So thank you guys for watching, and Skol Vikings.
Skol.